Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of the Spotlight on Success series. And today I am so excited to have Angelique Ruers with us to present the topic, Landing Lucrative Corporate Clients for Big Impact and Maximum Profit. So before we get into the topic today and all of the wonderful tips that you have to share, let me give everybody a little bit of background about you.
Okay.
So Angelique, harnessing her 15 plus years of award-winning work with world-leading corporations, is teaching micro business owners and solopreneurs how to stop chasing smaller clients and instead land lucrative corporate contracts. Having navigated the corporate buying process from both sides of the table, Angelique provides insider secrets and strategies that make this multi-billion-dollar market accessible to all. You can learn more about Angelique at her website, www.thecorporateagent.com. So glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's jump right in on this topic. This is a really powerful topic. I'm excited. Are there some entrepreneurs and business owners who the corporate market might be a better fit for than others?
Yeah, I'm glad you started there because I get that question probably above all. There's a couple of myths I want to bust first and foremost, and that is that corporations buy just about everything. A good way to think of a corporation as a small city. So they're hiring everything from people who deliver the needs that they have that are at the most basic level to things that are discretionary spending. I've hired, as someone on the corporate side, I've hired everyone from scuba divers and ventriloquists and African drum artists and hula dancers, and the list goes on and on. So first and foremost, it's really a wide list. Two categories that aren't a good fit right off the bat are anyone who's in network marketing. Sometimes it's called multi-level marketing. That's obviously not a good fit for corporate. And the other fit that's not so great for corporate is if you're going to teach people how to start their own business, because corporations aren't going to bring you in, right, to have you teach their employees how to leave and go start their own business. So if you're in either of those two categories, it's not a good fit. But it is a good fit for anyone who knows that they're good at what they do. You don't have to be the best in the industry, but you have to be good at what you do because corporations want to work with people who are solid. So you have to have some level of confidence. And the other fit really is people who are sick and tired of having this same conversation over and over again where you meet someone, you know you can help them, and they really want to work with you. They just can't afford to hire you, and they tell you they can't afford it. Maybe later, when their business is doing a little better, now they can afford to hire you. So if that sounds familiar, you're good at what you do, you're very confident in what you do, and you're really tired of chasing after clients who just can't afford to hire you.
Wow. So I think that's probably exciting news for many of my viewers to hear, and probably surprising news that corporations, large corporations, would be interested in what they have to offer. What does one do? I'm assuming that there's some sort of shift that has to take place with just their marketing message alone if they're used to focusing on the small business owner branching over into that corporate market.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So first and foremost, you really have to start thinking in the corporate marketplace. You really have to put your mindset, as solopreneurs, small business owners, we kind of congregate together, right? We go to conferences together, we network together. And if you want to get into corporate, you have to put yourself in that mindset and in that space. So you need to be reading the same publications that big companies are reading. You need to read Consulting Magazine if you're a consultant, or you need to read Business Week or Fortune. You really want to start thinking the way that the decision makers in corporate think. What do they care about right now? Why are they lying awake at night? It's the same principles we use to market and sell our services in the small business market, but now you just have to get into the mindset of the corporate decision maker. And so you can do that through all the same avenues that you're doing it in your current business, but you just need to shift about 15 degrees over. It's not a massive change. It can feel like that at first, but everything that you've learned about marketing to small business owners is the same in principle. but now you need to identify what are these things that corporations care about right now. And if you pick up a handful of corporate magazines, business publications right now, you're going to read the same 3, 4, 5 issues again and again and again. And that's really your light to follow your path of how can my services and the value and the benefit that I provide in my business, how can I be supporting those very issues that they're talking about? So it's not different. It's more of just a shift over.
I love that. And it really, just the point that you made about really knowing who you're targeting. Who you're trying to focus on and walking a mile in their shoes. And I love your tip about, where to begin in that process, because that's so important. And I think leaves a lot of entrepreneurs floundering a bit when they have no idea, where to go to get that information. So I really appreciate you sharing that nugget of wisdom with us, so that if somebody's interested in considering branching in that area, they know exactly what, step one should be. So thank you. That's perfect. So when it comes, Angelique, to selling to the corporate market, what size of an opportunity are you really talking about?
Yeah, I think the numbers are a bit startling. Each year in the US alone, the biggest companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars buying products and services from other companies. So on a conservative estimate, if you look at just the Fortune 1000 companies, for example, it's estimated that they're spending about $1 trillion in total.
Wow.
$1 trillion. So we're talking about $1 trillion marketplace. Now, a good portion of that $1 trillion marketplace, they're also buying from other big businesses. Big business does buy from big business. But what people don't realize is that because of what's known as the corporate social responsibility movement, companies are trying to do good in the world. They really are, especially now thanks to things like social media, online video. They know they're being watched. They know they have to behave in a very positive way, in a way that benefits the world. And one of the ways they're doing that is they're actively seeking out working with small business owners and what's called disadvantaged business owners. Those are women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. There's a whole category of disadvantaged businesses. I don't like that term because I don't think we're very disadvantaged, but that's the government's term for it.
Okay.
So, not mine. And so they are really actively wanting to do more business with these smaller companies. And they're tracking the money that they're spending so that when they're talking about, oh, we're a good corporate citizen, look how much money we're putting back into our local market. Look at how much money we're spending with women-owned businesses, with minority-owned businesses. And a lot of big companies now within their purchasing department, and sometimes you'll hear the purchasing department referred to as procurement or supply chain. It's all the same thing. You have to kind of just get used to this corporate vernacular. But the purchasing departments now often have a director of diversity suppliers. So there's someone in the department that's entire job is to find small business owners, women-owned business owners, minority-owned business owners who they can do more business with. So they've actually dedicated a person in their business to cultivate these relationships. And what's really ironic is that at the same time that a lot of small business owners say, oh, I could never get my foot in the front door, big companies often go to conferences and they talk about how they would like to do more business with small business, but they can't find us. They can't find the people they need. So they want to work with us. So it's a huge, huge opportunity.
Well, so I have to ask the next question, which is, so how do we make ourselves visible?
How do we make ourselves visible? Well, it's not all that tricky. It starts with people you know. Not every expert who talks about working with the corporate market agrees with this strategy, and I won't take our whole call to sort of defend my position on this. I'm a big believer that the easiest place to start are with the companies that are in your backyard, because it's more likely that you personally know people who work at those companies, and it's more likely that you'll be able to network with the people who work at those companies without having to travel away from your kids or your home, without having to spend all this money to go halfway across the country. So I'm a big believer in starting local when you're getting your feet wet. Ultimately, you're going to be looking for companies that are the best match for you based on what their goals are and the benefits you provide. But to start, look local and take advantage of anyone at all that you know at the company to start having the opportunity to network with them. You want to be on LinkedIn, because when it comes to corporations and corporate employees and decision makers, from a personal perspective, they might be over on Facebook, but the truth is, from a personal networking perspective, those decision makers are all on LinkedIn. They're not on Twitter, they're not on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn. You want to be at the trade shows that these decision makers are at. When I'm talking about networking, most local networking events are small business owners trying to sell to small business owners. Mm-hmm. You're not going to find the key decision makers there. You want to be at the big conferences and the big trade shows that these corporate decision makers go to. That's where you want to be. And another hint, and this is a big one, when you identify local companies or companies across the country that are a good match for you, you need to pick up the phone and you need to ask to talk to the purchasing department. You need to introduce yourself. Ask to talk to, say, does your company have someone who is in charge of, diversity vendor relationships? And get to that individual. Introduce yourself. Ask how you can find out about working with the company. Oftentimes, they'll have a database of vendors that they look to when they are ready to issue a request for a proposal, when they're going out looking to hire someone. You want to make sure you're on their radar screen. So you want to cover all of your bases, but don't forget to call and introduce yourself to the purchasing department, because that's, who's going to be in charge of hiring you. So you want to make sure they know about you and see if you can provide some information and find out how you can get to be a preferred vendor for the company.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm so glad that you brought up LinkedIn, because I think it's an underutilized resource, certainly for me. I'm not maximizing or leveraging it the way that I could, and it is such a tremendous resource, especially for business-to-business relationships, and such an easy tool to search to find out who you might be connected with or be one or two steps away from being connected to who work for the companies that you're interested in. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, I had a client recently who was really struggling to get past the gatekeepers for this large online retailer. And I said, well, have you looked for anyone who works at that company on LinkedIn? And she said, no. And I said, well, let's do that together. Let's start looking. And both of us had second-degree contacts. And unbelievably, one of the contacts that we had, it was like a second or third degree contact, but that we could get to, was in charge of new products, bringing on new products. So that's what you want to be looking for.
That's perfect. And it's not rocket science, and it's certainly not something to be feared, because I have found more often than not that people are so receptive to connecting with you, especially when you're going at it from the approach of, is there anything that I can do to help your company get, move past this or work on this, or, what are you interested in? I mean, you're not in the sales mode. It's more of that relationship building and just getting to know one another and learning. Just listen. So
listen. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Love it. Excellent. So Angelique, aside from the money, what are some of the biggest advantages of working with, corporate clients that some of our viewers might be surprised to hear about?
Well, there are three that I like to talk about. One is credibility. Whether you want to have more media coverage for your business, you want more speaking opportunities, maybe you're looking to publish a book or just grow your business in a lot of different ways. When you start adding big companies to your resume, if you will, people take notice of that. It makes a big difference when I'm applying to speak or I'm talking to a potential new client, even in the small business market, and I say, hey, I'm working with eBay and ITT Corporation, and people take note of that. So that's first and foremost. Number two is leverage. I'm a big believer that it takes just as much time to land small clients as it does to land big clients when you really think about what you have to do to get that sale. And at the end of the day, if the if the lane is just as long on both sides, I'd much rather see my clients get to a place in 3 months where they're talking 50 to 75 to $150,000 versus spend 3 months cultivating and getting that client, and it's $500, $5,000, maybe $7,000 for a client. If you're trying to build your business, you're trying to get to 6 figures or beyond, and you're only doing it with small business owners, and you look at the average size of your transactions and you start looking at the math, you best have a marketing machine to bring in enough small business clients to fuel your business to 6 figures and beyond. I mean, it's just the math. And I got to tell you, there was a big study that was done by Vista Print earlier this year. And they looked at micro business owners, and that's the way they categorize micro business owners. That's anyone with 10 or fewer employees in their business. And last year in 2010, 50% of American micro business owners earned under $25,000 in their business. That is appalling, first of all, because I think the small business market is doing some of the most meaningful, innovative work in the world. I mean, we are changing the world at our level of business. But we as a community aren't making any money. And so if you're trying to sell into a market that people are making an average of $12.02 an hour, that's tough. That's really tough, right? So I think when you look at the leverage of your time, leveraging your marketing time, leveraging the administrative time of managing your clients, right? Because whether someone's spending $5,000 or $50,000, that sort of administrative stuff that comes along with each client you have, it's about the same amount of time. So I think you can have much greater results, better use of your time if you're going after these corporate clients. And then the third one that I really get passionate about is this issue of impact on the world. I hear a lot of clients when they first come to me say, Angelique, I have this gift, I have this passion, this purpose, I'm really good at what I do. If people would just let me help them, I could really help them. I could really change people's lives. And they're going at it one client at a time. One. You switch to marketing to the corporate world, and all of a sudden you have one contract, and you're able to serve, if you're a speaker or a coach or you do workshops or whatever you do, you might be looking at landing one contract and having your message reach 25, 50, 500 people. It really depends on what you do. But with one contract, you can reach hundreds, if not thousands of people with your gift. So if you're someone who's sitting there saying, well, I can't work with corporate because it's corporate America and they're not heart-centered, think of all the individuals who are sitting there. I think it's really unfair of us to just make that assumption. And I think some of the employees in corporate America need us heart-centered entrepreneurs more than anything, right?
Right.
So it's impact.
And the level at which you want to take it. And I think that's the important thing. And a follow-up to what you just shared, which was so powerful, in really leveraging and expanding your reach by applying the same amount of effort is huge, and something that I think people really need to think about, not to neglect the little mom and pop shop who you can help. Right. But when it comes to focusing on your business, something that I try to work with my clients on is really being laser focused, because it's so easy to want to do this, and then, oh my gosh, you hear about this over here and this is so exciting and I want to do that too, and you end up spreading yourself too thin. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to you advising your clients, do you recommend that they focus, if they're interested in the corporate arena, focus on targeting that and targeting that alone, splitting their time evenly? What is your best recommendation for that?
Sort of twofold. One is, I'm not a believer in putting all of your eggs in one basket. I think that we're wise, given the economy and the things that happen in the economy that are unpredictable. And, it would be very easy, actually. I've had the opportunity multiple times in my business where I could have been on easy street for a while if I would have just had one corporate client that just wanted to use my communications firm. Because I should mention that in addition to being the corporate agent and having the corporate agent website, I own a communications and marketing firm, and I'm selling to corporations. My other business with employees, and we're selling to these very companies that I'm sharing with people that they should go do that. That's why I say I'm on both sides of the table of this. And so I'm very careful not to put all my eggs in one basket, because one corporate client could be yanked out with one merger announcement or an acquisition announcement or an Enron situation, right? So you don't want to do all your eggs in one basket. But I agree with you. You shouldn't be chasing one bright, shiny object after another. I don't really think this is a bright, shiny object. I think this is a really disciplined, strategic approach, but you should not be all over the place. So what I often recommend to my clients is that we get really clear on what it is that they do, what their transformation is that they provide, and how they provide, what's their service delivery model. And then we look at, can they serve both the corporate market and, say, the small business market with relatively the same thing, with just tweaking their messages slightly. So if I'm talking to this small business owner, here's how I'm going to position my services. And if I'm talking to this corporation, here's how I'm going to position my services. But generally, I like to see a lot of congruence across their entire business model, and just creating a nice, we usually sit down and look at sort of like the pie of their revenue. Which percentage is coming from where? What would we like it to be? And then aligning our efforts to that, degree. But I don't think, you don't want to have two different unrelated businesses going on. You really want to have your platform really clear, know what your value is, know what your niche is, what you do, and then look for corporate clients that fit that and small business clients that fit that. Does that help?
Absolutely. That brings a lot of clarity to it for me, as well as I think our viewers. And I think that's very helpful in understanding that that's the approach, that it's not necessarily two parallel businesses. It's a merging where there's, systems just diverge slightly at the apex, so to speak, and you move from there. So that's excellent.
And I'll take it one step further and give you a specific example. One of my clients is a productivity expert, and she's been teaching busy small business owners and self-employed professionals, attorneys, doctors, etc., how to organize their workday. She has a very specific system. It's 5 specific steps. And she was one-on-one, right? She was selling one. And some bigger companies started finding out about her, and it was going to take forever and be very expensive for them, for her to individually teach all those people her same system. So we simply figured out a way for her to deliver it via video, and everyone's able to call in, dial in from an entire department, and now she's able to sell that very same methodology, the same way she delivers it. She's just doing it virtually, and instead of selling one-to-one, she's selling one-to-many, and she's still serving her small business clients. And then sometimes she gets on the phone, it's a bigger company, and there are a whole bunch of manager-level people or a whole bunch of administrative assistants who are listening in as she walks them through the steps. So same signature system, same value, same payoff at the end of the day, but she just had a look, how could I change my delivery model just slightly so that I could serve more people in big business? That's all we did.
And that's brilliant. Simplicity is brilliant. So. Simplicity. Love it. So what would you say, Angelique, is the biggest challenge that you see small business owners having in landing these corporate contracts?
I think it's getting started. It's not knowing where to start and feeling overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, this is a big company. I don't know how to get my foot in the door. And you know what? They're people just like us. And the best thing you can do is start to understand their mindset and where they're coming from. It is a little different. You have to remember, a lot of these decision makers, these senior managers, director level individuals, they don't make more money if they work harder, right? It's not like a business owner. And so their payoff at the end of the day isn't, oh, well, you can boost your revenue twice, 3 times over this year. That's not what's going to resonate with them. So it's just really getting into the mindset and starting to make those connections. I have a couple of clients that I have to tell you, they amaze me. I get tips from them because they have just figured out how to market and how to network and just build these relationships. And it was so funny because one of my clients, she submitted a response to a proposal about 5-6 months ago. We hadn't really heard anything, but her name started getting passed around, and she started having lunch with these different individuals at this company. And next thing you know, just last week, actually, 3 different departments called her. Now, whether or not each of those will turn into an opportunity, we don't know yet, right? But she took the time to get to know people, give out her business cards, give out her capability overview, have some lunch, and really spend some time. So here's the takeaway on this. Do not try to market your services to 500 companies. Do not look at the Fortune 500 list and say, I'm going to market my services to all 500 of these companies, because that would be overwhelming and exhausting, and talk about spreading yourself too thin. Okay? You want to look at anywhere from 8 to 12 companies that you say to yourself, these are my targets. I like these companies. I like what they stand for. When I read about them in the news, they care about the same thing that my service delivers. Oh yeah, some of them are located near me, so I have the opportunity to build a relationship with them. You know, you're going to set up Google alerts. Start watching what these companies are doing. Look for what I call spark events, things that, you know, are a window of opportunity for you to approach them, and then start figuring out how to build relationships with these people on LinkedIn. Find out what conferences and trade shows they're attending, and get out there and meet them face to face. But take that Fortune 500 list down to about, like I said, 8 to 12 companies that seem like a good match for you, and just focus your efforts there and start a dialogue, start a conversation. That's how you get started.
And that's so important, because as I think we probably both teach our clients, you cannot be everything to everyone.
That's right.
And when you're looking at that Fortune 500 list, you've got to whittle it down to those with whom your services are that almost perfect match, so that you're not spinning your wheels on, you know, trying to develop a relationship where you're probably not quite appropriate for what they're looking for.
That's right.
So spend your time wisely, ladies.
Wisely. Be strategic. Be strategic.
Absolutely. So can you share with us, well, you just shared with us some fantastic strategies for overcoming that challenge. And what I'd love to kind of wrap things up with is for you to tell our viewership if they're excited about this information, which I can't imagine them not being. This was so inspiring today. And they're ready to start selling to corporate clients. What advice do you have for them as far as perhaps, you know, taking that next step forward beyond, you know, doing their homework, which I think is so important. But do they hire a professional like you? Is that one way to really streamline the process?
Yeah, I think you should look for in your coach, in your consultants that you're working for, whether it's your marketing consultant or whoever it is, someone who has experience in this area, because they can really cut through the chase and make it a lot easier. So that's one thing they can do. I have a free CD on my website. They're welcome to download the free CD. I have some more strategies and tips on how they can get started doing that. And I think above all, you have to have a plan. You have to put it in paper. I know we're all creative beings, but we have to plan. And so if you really think that this is something that's a good fit for your business, sit down and write out a plan. Look at what companies you're going to target, what your strategies are going to be to target those clients. Actually look at the calendar. Look at events. Proactively be moving toward, you know, where you're like, wow, I know I need to be at this event. I need to go to this networking event. I need to be at this conference. I know this is happening. Look for, you know, a 12-month plan of how you can start to do this. I don't think it should take anybody 12 months to get their first corporate contract, but if you're doing it on your own, it might, especially if you're continuing to maintain your business and your current workload and your current clients. You know, if you're good at what you do, you're probably already pretty busy, right? So you have to look at a realistic plan for starting to add this layer in. But I do want to leave everybody with this, and that is most small business owners, most solopreneurs, micro business owners really only need 3 to 5 corporate clients to keep them really busy, okay? So if you can add 1 or 2 this year and 1 or 2 next, it's probably all you're going to really have the bandwidth to do. Because once you get your foot in the door, you can go to a million different locations within the company, a million different departments within the company. So each corporate client is worth, you know, another 10 to 15 clients within that one corporation's umbrella. So you really want to be laying out a plan. Be very strategic about where you're going to spend your time and build it into whatever your time management practices that you use to make sure that you're spending a little bit of time every week to cultivate this part of your business. So, but I do have a free CD, and I go through some more steps that people can follow.
Excellent. Love that. And I love that you shared the importance of laying out that 12-month plan. I am a firm believer in that. You've got to know, not only where you want to go, but how you're going to get there. And if you don't lay out the steps for getting there and know exactly what you need to do in a given week, in a given month, to get you to that next step, to get you moving closer to your goal, you're not going to get there.
Right.
And the other thing is that I think there's that element of the need for patience, and that this isn't going to happen overnight. No relationship is built in 24 hours, and so you have to have strategies in place, and then also give it a solid chance. Really lay out that plan, make sure that you know what you're going to do, and then give it the time. Invest in it. Don't just, if it doesn't happen in 3 months, don't just throw in the towel.
And big companies can't buy from you if they don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're really, really busy, so they don't have a lot of time to search high and low. So you really have to have visibility in front of them, and so that's what your first year is all about. Your first year is about building that visibility with them.
Excellent. Well, Angelique, thank you so much for your time today, and for those. For all the viewers who are watching, so they can sign up to get your free CD, and I'm guessing that you have a newsletter.
I do. It's called Business Brilliance, and it's right on my website. And if they get the CD, they'll get Brilliance as well.
Fabulous. And do you offer any type of entry-level training for women?
You know what I do? I have a 7-week online course that is very affordable and walks you through the 7 steps of really building. I call it my corporate client launch pad, because it's about building that foundation in 7 weeks, what you need to do. And it's a lower entry level. It's a great opportunity. If this is something that you really want to explore, that's the place to start.
Wonderful. And we will have all of those links below this video. So for those of you who want to get signed up for that newsletter, grab a hold of that free CD with those extra tips above and beyond what Angelique has been so generous to share with us today. And check out her course. This sounds very exciting. And so for anyone who's just been really inspired by this information today, don't put it on the back burner. Do the research and see if this is going to be a really strong fit for your company, because no one wants to be in that position forever where they're trading hours for dollars. So thank you, Angelique, so much for your time today. We appreciate you being on the Spotlight on Success show, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.